What's up, YouTube? We're out here today on the Vulcan, and I'm going to do a little bit of riding around, and I want to talk about a few of the things that I avoid as a new rider to kind of help me, stay safe out here on the streets. Being a new rider myself, there's a lot of things that can happen out here that are really distracting that could cause you to get in an accident or get hurt. So I'm just going to go over a few of those things today that I've just little notes that I've taken to myself and things that I avoid doing. So stick around. Alright, I'm going to kind of start this video out by saying thank you to the 100 plus subscribers that I have now on my channel. It's flattering, it's an honor that at least 100 of you guys have thought that my stuff's cool enough that you want to stick around and kind of listen to what I have to say, so truly, thank you. Alright, let's get on with the video. So this video is mainly about distractions and how they can really kind of screw you up as a new rider when you're out there on the street learning how to ride. So these are just a few of the things that I've avoided as a new rider myself because I know they're distracting. So I try to just keep away from them. And I think personally it's helped me to so far be safe on this motorcycle and my other bikes, and so far I haven't had a crash, and I think this is a pretty big contributing factor. So let's talk about having things mounted on your handlebars, a GPS, a GoPro, your cell phone. Those things right there are huge distractions when you're out riding. Now, to a more experienced rider, they're not so much, but if you're just a brand new rider, all these things out here, when you start riding, it's almost like sensory overload, and your brain's not accustomed to dealing with so many different inputs and so many different sensations all at the same time. So the last thing you need is a bunch of stuff dangling off your handlebars, distracting you from what's going on around you and what's what you should be paying attention to, trying to get accustomed to be able to ride a motorcycle safely. I mean, I've been riding for a couple years now, and I've got about 7,000 or 8,000 miles experience, which isn't a whole lot. I still consider myself a new rider. So I'm comfortable enough on a motorcycle that I can have a GPS, mounted right there, and I can glance down every once in a while and take a look at it. I'm comfortable with having a GoPro on my handlebars now, even though when I first started making videos on my bike, it was a huge distraction because I'm trying to concentrate on riding and staying safe out here, but then at the same time I also had this GoPro on my handlebars or on my chin, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to say, how's it going to come out, everything else. So as a new rider, you probably just want to avoid having anything like this hanging on your handlebars or hanging on your chin. Just go out there and just concentrate on riding for now. The fewer distractions you have on your bike, the better. The second thing I wanted to talk about that's pretty distracting when you're riding a motorcycle is gear that doesn't fit properly. Now, specifically gloves. I mean, if you have some boots that you bought, they're official motorcycle riding boots and they're armored and they got the protection in all the right places and everything else like that, you can kind of work with a boot that doesn't fit all that well. Although I think a lot of people that go out and buy these boots with these big giant toe boxes on them and they can barely fit them underneath the shift lever. Now if you look at these, what I'm wearing right here, I hope you can see that, these are TCX boots, and I really like this brand of boot because the toe profile is pretty flat and everything. It's easy to get it underneath the shifter, and there's not a whole lot of thickness above and below. It doesn't have a really super thick sole, and the toe box isn't really super tall, so it's almost like just an extension of your foot. It's really super comfortable, not distracting at all. All your gear should basically feel like a second skin to you when you're riding around. But if your gloves don't fit correctly and they are very distracting, then that's gonna make for a lot of problems while you're out riding. Because if you're out there and you've done your slow speed maneuvers and your practice braking and you're cornering and all that stuff like that, if you have gloves that are restricting the movement of your hands when it comes time to, you know, grab the clutch real quick or let off the throttle or grab the brake, you know, and squeeze that brake in, and you don't have a glove that fits you properly, then that's going to just add to the reaction time that you have. So properly fitting gloves is pretty important when you're out there learning to ride. Now I'll say that a good pair of leather gloves is really nice to have, because you know they'll last you a lifetime of riding, unless you have an accident and they get torn up or something. But a pair of leather gloves will last years and years and years. So if you find a pair that fits really nice, you know, keep it, because it'll just last forever. You'll never have to replace them. But the downside with a pair of leather gloves is they very rarely fit when you first buy them. I know these gloves that I have right here, they're Alpine Stars Cellar gloves, and this is my second pair, because my first pair I ordered what I usually wear in Alpine Stars. All their other gloves, you know, the textile and mesh gloves, I wear a large, so I bought these in a large. And when I got them, they were just extremely tight, and I thought maybe that they would break in because they are leather and they would get better and stuff. But I kept them for about a week, and I was wearing them inside the house, and you know, just out in the garage just doing whatever, and they never broke in. So I sent them back and exchanged them for extra large. And while these ones fit a lot better, there was still an issue with how tight the fingers were in them. So especially on this right hand side glove right here, because I have fairly large hands, what I did is I took it out in the garage and I took the screwdriver and I turned it around and I shoved the handles of the screwdrivers down into the fingers, and I let them sit in there like that for a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then I'd pull the screwdrivers out of there and I'd try it on, and it was getting a little bit better and better. So what I was doing is basically just trying to stretch the fingers out as much as possible. That way they're nice and comfortable. And while this one, it fits, you know, like a glove, the right one is I'm still working on that one. But I absolutely love these gloves. They're phenomenal. And I think I got them for like 79 bucks or something like that on clearance. I mean, you just can't beat that. Alpine Stars makes some really good gear. Now the third part of gear that's really super important to make sure that it fits really well and it's not distracting is your helmet. If you're one of those lucky people that can go out and just buy a helmet and throw it on your head and it fits perfect, then I really envy you. Me, I have a what is it called, an intermediate oval size head with, I mean, a lot of guys have that shape of head. But the only helmets that I've ever found that fit me right off a shelf is these Bell Qualifier helmets. So I have 3 of them. There's another helmet that fit me almost perfect, but is a Scorpion XO R420, which is a really sweet helmet. But if your helmet doesn't fit you properly, that's going to be super distracting, especially while you're out riding and you got all this wind noise and you got a pressure point on your forehead or the back of your head or the sides or something like that. Pardon my jittery voice, this road's bumpy. But yeah, if your helmet doesn't fit right, then it's going to be, you know, it's going to be bad for you. So what you can do, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but what I had to do with my Scorpion, it had a pressure spot right in the front. I mean, it fit great everywhere else, but the front of it was just right across the top of my forehead. It was pinching it. So what I did is I took it out, took my helmet off, put it on the bench, and I pulled all the padding out of the front and everything else like that. And I just basically took a piece of sandpaper to it and I sanded down the brow of the helmet until it was more contoured to my head, and now it fits awesome. Now, I didn't shave a whole bunch of foam out of it. It was basically, I mean, it was maybe 1/8 of an inch, and we're talking about foam padding in the front of the helmet that's, you know, an inch and a quarter thick. So I didn't remove any of the, you know, the safety of it. It didn't compromise the structural integrity of the helmet, but it made a huge difference. And now I can wear that helmet, you know, on rides and things and feel comfortable about it. So your helmet, really important to be comfortable. Next thing I want to talk about, and this falls along the lines of gear, although not a lot of guys, not everybody has one of these when they're out riding, is I ride with a backpack on. And the reason why I do that is sometimes I want to stop by the store and, you know, grab something to drink to take home or something like that. Now I'm on this Vulcan, I don't have any storage whatsoever, so I need a way to carry stuff. So I've opted to wear a backpack. Now this backpack it's a Maxpedition Falcon 2 backpack, and I have a couple of these. I absolutely love them. But the thing about wearing a backpack, unless you have to have something in it, just leave it empty most of the time. Mine's empty right now. The reason why I say leave it empty most of the time if you can, unless you have to carry something in it, is if you have an accident or something like that. You don't want something like I've been tempted to bring my nice camera out on rides before, but you know, that thing's a brick, and if I were to have an accident on this bike and go down and land on that thing on my back, it's just a pressure point that could potentially compromise the armor in the back of my jacket. So I don't do it. But I don't know if you might even be able to see it every once in a while. Straps on a backpack they can be dangerous. Most straps aren't really long enough to cause a problem, but what I like to do, because this Maxpedition, it's very modular, so you can add a lot of things to it. So some of the straps are kind of long. So what I'll do is I'll try to tuck those straps up into the backpack somewhere so that they're up and out of the way, because I don't want a bunch of straps flinging all over the place, you know, because they could be a potential danger. If you have something that's long enough, it might, you know, it could get caught up in the chain, or it could get caught up in a wheel, or when you're climbing off of your bike, you know, it could snag on something, and you know, you fall over, you knock your bike over, and just makes you look like a fool. I'm sure some guys have been there. But yeah, anything that could potentially catch on your bike when you're riding it, or get caught up into the rotating bits and bobs and things like that, could be a potential danger. So just try to keep everything tucked in nice and neat, and that goes for your shoelaces. If you ride with boots or shoes that have shoelaces on them, tuck them down inside next to the tongue of the shoe, because the last thing you want to do is, you know, get home or wherever you're going and get off your bike, and you go to climb off your bike and your shoe is stuck because of the shoestrings, or even worse, you pull up to a stoplight and you go to put your foot down. And I know this has happened to a lot of guys. I've read the stories, but you go to put your foot down on the concrete at a stoplight, and your shoestring catches in the clutch pedal or the brake pedal or something like that, and you drop your bike over because, well, what do you do? How are you supposed to stop that? You know, you're on a machine that weighs hundreds of pounds, and one of your feet, you can't get it down, and you know, you're going to be extremely embarrassed about it. You probably won't get hurt unless the bike crushes your foot or something, but it's not going to be a fun experience either way. So make sure your riding gear is, you know, comfortable, and you don't have things hanging off of it, and it'll make your ride much more enjoyable. Now I think the last thing I want to talk about, as far as things that are distracting, or too distracting for me anyways as a new rider, are group rides. I avoid group rides. I mean, I've been invited to a group ride or two, had the opportunity to go on group rides, but I avoid it like crazy, because I mean, at this point in my riding career, I'm pretty competent, and I'm pretty confident in my skill level, you know, to know what I'm doing. But I don't trust other riders being so close to me as they are when you're in a group ride. Now here's my problem with the group ride. There's 20, 30, 40 bikers, a lot of stuff going on around you. People are waving and honking, and you know, everybody's trying to talk to each other, and you're in a lane. And in a lot of group rides, people like to ride side by side, and I honestly can't stand that. I like to have my whole entire lane all to myself. And the reason why I like to have it all to myself is, you could be riding along down a road or something like that, and say you're in position number 1 right here, and there's a big giant pothole coming up. I mean, something that could swallow a car. So what do you need to do? You need to jump over to position 3, or potentially in the middle. Or what if you're like this, and then some dog comes running out, and you know, you want to jump over to back to position number 1. If you're in a group ride and you got somebody next to you, you can't do that. So it's taking away from you space that you have to react to road hazards and dangers and things like that. So group rides, screw all that. I don't care how cool people will think you look doing a group ride or riding tandem or whatever it is. I mean, I didn't start riding motorcycles to look cool. I don't know if you did. If that was your whole point of doing it, then cool, good on you. That's just a side effect of riding a motorcycle. You by default look cool. Okay, so I'm going to throw in one little bonus here towards the end of the video. And it's not necessarily a thing that I avoid, you know, a material thing that I avoid, but it's definitely something that I try not to do. Because I basically, to me, you know, riding is a hobby. And I don't have to commute on my bike. I don't have to go anywhere on my bike. I don't have to do anything on my bike. So to me, it's a hobby. But I do avoid riding during certain times of day. One time in particular is, let's say, dusk time, especially if it's during rush hour and there's a lot of people out on the road. If you're riding to the west and the sun is setting, you got the sun in your eyes. If you're riding to the east and the sun is setting, the people that are coming at you from oncoming traffic, they're going to be less able to see you. So you might have to ride with your head high beam on. But those people that are coming, they don't, you know, naturally the sun's in their eyes, so their visibility isn't as good. So you're putting yourself in a position by riding during that time of day where you're less visible and it's a little more dangerous. Another time that I try to avoid riding in is when it's like late at night. You know, I guess you'd call it quitting time at the bar or last call or something like that. You don't want to go out riding at 2 o'clock in the morning when all the drunks are out on the road, because you know they're out there. They're a danger. I mean, they'll kill you and just keep going, not even know it. You know, it'd be like they hit a speed bump. So I don't ride during that time of night at all, which is really convenient for me because I'm usually always asleep at that time. But even if I had to, I would just wait it out. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up. I have some other things that I could talk about, things that I've avoided as a new rider, but I don't want to make this video too long, and heck, maybe I'll make another video including those things. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for the people who have subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the people who give me a thumbs up on my videos. I especially appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Ride safe. Have a good day. This is a steep hill. Won't even phase this Vulcan. Good God, man! Oh, that never gets old. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you don't like it, go ahead and hit that thumbs down. But do it twice, just to get your point across.